Hello, everyone. My name is Gus.
Hi, I'm Woody.
We have been gone for a long time. Like, people are starting to get nervous. Like, you guys doing any more episodes? Like, what's going on?
No, there's really three things that I need to catch up on.
Yeah.
Exactly three. Number one,
boy.
I'm Brazilian.
That's okay.
There's a long story. I've transformed. We can get into that. That's going to take a couple of series to discuss. I'm Brazilian, and it's amazing what I have going on there. Number two, why is your left arm have dirt just flowing out the bottom? No,
Stop.
What is that black stuff?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Look at your left arm. I know the right one, you injected that ink in it, but the left one is
No idea.
bleeding.
No idea what you're talking about.
That was the second thing. And the third thing, finally, after years of recording, it's really nice. I can hear you. You got me a news. I haven't heard a thing. They probably were wondering why I always interrupted and paused. I couldn't hear, but look at this.
Yeah?
The guy took the very little bit of credit we have left on our credit card that he hasn't spent on other than himself and got me some ear. Thank you.
I got him just for you at Goodwill. They were great.
But I can hear.
Whose ears were those in before you? Who knows?
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
But yeah, they were great. But anyway, we're back and we have, guess what? Everybody's favorite topic. Somebody died in a cave.
Oh, this will be a big one.
And I'm already laughing, so people are commenting, hating below. No, I don't really know if somebody died in a cave. I assume they did because the title of this video is Why Florida Refused to Save These Divers and Left Them There Forever. Now, before we start, we haven't seen this video. We have no idea. This was just suggested through our website, divetalk.com. But as far as I know, they have never left people dead in a cave in Florida. As far as I know.
I've never heard them doing that.
The only case that I know of is Ben McDaniel, which they never found the body.
Right.
But the fact that they would know, like, oh, there's two divers or a diver who died there, just leave him there. I've never heard of this. So this may be news for us.
Good opening, Brigada.
That's okay.
What? I'm Portuguese. You don't
By
know
the
Portuguese?
I don't know Portuguese.
If you know Spanish, you know Portuguese.
But
Same
I
language.
do know obrigada.
Couple of words different.
You said
Obrigada.
Obrigada is
Obrigada,
thank you.
But they say brigada. De nada.
First of all, it's thank you. But only if you're a female. Obrigado is if you're a male.
Well,
so at least get that right.
I'm just saying that Spanish, Portuguese.
I don't even speak Portuguese and I know that. And you claim to be Brazilian and don't know that.
Mi amor, Punima.
Have you ever seen even anyone with a Brazilian? Well, that's another topic. Let's get to the video.
This is Florida, and this is the exact forest we need to look at. What's so unusual about it? Trees, more trees, a couple of cabins, and then
I know that parking lot.
The lake. Since 1981, people have been dying in it, and not one of them had even the slightest chance of making it out alive.
What?
But let's take a closer look at the lake itself.
That's Eagle's Nest. That's Eagle's Nest. You
not
can tell.
but it's not a lake.
It's a pond and it's Eagle's Nest.
Yeah,
We've
you
been
can
there.
tell. Look at the there's that little ramp, but the top part of what he's calling a lake, by the way, it's a pond, but it's in the middle of what's that park's name? I'm trying to remember the park's name.
Chahazowitska, something like that.
Yeah, I'm sure the Indians did not pronounce it that way,
Well,
but that's
they don't
close.
watch our videos. But
but
the point is, this is Eagle's Nest.
Definitely.
And from what I understand, do you hear this right? And we could rewind it. But did the guy say everyone who has dived there has died? Isn't that what he said?
No, I thought he said that something to the effect of they never, ever had a chance to get out alive. Now, the thing about Eagle's Nest, though, out of fairness to his opening statement,
Yeah.
this is a very deep cave from the beginning. So when you go into Eagle's Nest, I love it because it's literally a tube. It kind of reminds me like a lava tube. Like it's literally a tube.
Yeah.
Maybe two people could be side by side in it,
No.
but I don't think so.
Maybe free divers. But
I mean, it's pretty tight. And when you get to the bottom, where you're going down through this tube, I think you're at, I'm trying to remember the depth. It's pretty deep at the bottom of that thing. Is it like 130, 140, right at the bottom of it?
Yeah, and I don't want to get too far ahead because I assume the guy is going to get into this. But I think the ballroom opens up at 80 feet and it goes all the way down to 130.
There you
so
go.
it's a huge, like hangar, like
Yeah.
humongous room. People have died there. And we have talked about Eagle's Nest in the past multiple times. Why? Because it's widely considered as the Mount Everest of cave diving. Are there deeper caves, more challenging caves? Yes, of course. This is not the toughest cave to dive. Proof of that is that we've dived this cave multiple times. It's just a deep cave. It's a very deep cave. We're talking about 320 feet deep. That's almost 100 meters deep. There are caves that are hundreds of meters deep. Like, there are caves that they haven't found the ending or how deep they are. But this is considered by many as the Mount Everest of cave diving. What Woody said, the tube that you use to go in is called a chimney. And the reason why you can't have two people side by side is not because the tube is tight. It's not super tight. There's way tighter entrance to caves like El Diablo, for example, is super tight. But it's because you're going so deep that you have to bring in so much equipment with you that you are like this big. It's like you have so many tanks, so much stuff that you're bringing in with you that only one person fits at a time.
Yeah, but they've done a good job setting it up for that depth because if you recall, as you're going down the chimney, right at 70 feet strategically,
Yeah.
you clip off your 50% tank. Remember? You can
Right.
clip it off right there because you can't use 50% deeper than 70.
Yeah, and you clip
'cause
the 100.
PO2,
You clip the 100 right at the entrance
it's
by
great.
the 20 feet mark.
Yeah, and then even at the top, when you're doing your deco, there's like a log. I don't know how to explain it any better. A big
Yeah.
giant dead tree where they put a bunch of loops in it.
Yeah.
And, you've got your O2s clipped off right there.
Yeah.
What depth is that thing at? Oh, perfect, 20 feet.
Yeah, 6 meters where you need oxygen. So anyway, what this guy is featuring right here is Eagle's Nest. This right here is like a little pavilion where you get set up or whatever. Like I can tell immediately from this aerial footage. And then right here, there's like bathrooms. And probably as he continues to spin because he's going crazy with the screen, you may get to see the bathrooms there, which are not the best smelling bathrooms in Florida. I will say that with the heat.
We've had some
And then-
experiences here.
Yeah, and this
trust
pond is typically covered in duckweed, which
Yeah.
is right now it looks super clear. So this is awesome.
And
So-
fishing line. If you recall,
fishing line.
It's
you
pretty
kind
small,
of got stuck
so
in
it's
it
not
once.
like
Yeah.
you could just get lost out there.
Yeah, there's
there
the
are no
bathroom.
crocodiles or other predators living in it, so nothing's going to eat you. So how can it kill people? The answer is what lies beneath the surface. Under the lake lies an entire network of flooded caves.
Look at that
They
thing.
keep drawing people in, even though it has a reputation for being incredibly deadly. But, well, everyone has their own way of getting kicks. The most disturbing part of this story is that if you get lost inside or if anything else goes wrong, no one will be able to rescue you.
That's
That's
not
stupid.
true.
Absolutely wrong. Dumb comment. Obviously, this is, I guess, for clicks and views. There are several people that have died at Eagle's Nest. I don't know what the count is, and obviously, depending on where you're watching this, the count could be higher even if I give it to you. But I would say it's probably like 16 people or so have died there. And is one of the caves in Florida that the government has threatened with shutting down, like closing, not allowing people to dive because a lot of people have died there. And I made a comment in the past, and people left comments attacking me that I said the reason why they want to close Eagle's Nest is not because it's dangerous, it's because people have died there, and people laugh because I said that. But what I mean is every cave is dangerous. And they're not trying to shut down all caves. Again, all caves are dangerous. Cave diving is dangerous, especially if you're not trained and certified and have the right equipment. Is basically is suicidal if you go diving without the training and without the equipment, as we have established here. So all caves are dangerous. They're not trying to shut down Eagle's Nest because it's dangerous, because all caves are dangerous. It's because a lot of people have died there because it's too deep. People go in there without training and they have died. So that's the reason why they're trying to shut down Eagle's Nest, is because people have died there, not because it's dangerous. All caves are dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, Eagle's Nest has a lot of ingredients that if you violate, you die. And what I mean by the ingredients is we've talked about this a million times. The 5 golden rules of cave diving.
Yeah.
Training. Proper gaff at the proper depth.
Yeah.
The proper lights. Like this one in particular, guideline all the way to the surface. This one you need, I mean, you've got to have that. And particularly the proper gas, because very quickly, when you get through that chimney, you're already approaching 130 feet and could quickly get narked.
Yeah.
I do. I'm affected by it. I would say for me to dive in Eagle's Nest at any point in Eagle's Nest, I have to have Trimix.
Of course.
Woody has to have Trimix, which I have to have helium, or I just don't want to be in Eagle's Nest. I don't feel good.
Yeah, we feature Eagle's Nest, at least that I can think of, at least 3 other times. One of those incidents was a father and son, where the father bought the son, I think, a brand new BCD, and they went to test it, out of all places, in Eagle's Nest, and they both died. I mean, it's like, bro, you're going to the Mount Everest of caves, not even just dive sites, caves, to test a brand new BCD for a brand new diver, a little kid. Like, what do you think is going to happen? But like Doug Eversole always says, it's like, if you die of a heart attack on the 9th hole at a golf course, they won't say it's a golf diving death. But if you die cave diving, no matter what happens, whether it was a heart attack or not, they'll say it's a cave diving death. So a lot of people that have died at Eagle's Nest died there because they were inexperienced.
Vamos.
And yes, this place is still open to visitors. Why? That's what we're going to find out today. So let's start with what's actually
Eagle's
down
Nest.
beneath the lake.
What?
Blue Grotto.
I wish that was.
You might assume there's just a lake bed down there, but
That is
that's
Eagle's
not the
Nest.
case. Eagle's Nest doesn't really have a solid bottom. You keep swimming, and then suddenly, right beneath you, a vertical passage opens up. Divers call it the chimney. And honestly, the name fits perfectly. It's basically a shaft, a narrow vertical tunnel about 6.5 feet wide. Now picture yourself in a wetsuit with tanks, lights, reels, gauges, basically carrying a whole pile of metal on your back, and then imagine having to squeeze carefully into that shaft.
Yes.
Comfortable? Not even close.
It is
Dangerous?
comfortable.
Oh, absolutely.
It is dangerous.
According to many divers, the tunnel is about 65 feet long.
Looks like
so
that.
This isn't one of those drops where you dive down and instantly reach the next level. It's a slow, careful descent through a narrow stone shaft.
Yes.
One wrong move and your gear starts scraping and snagging against the walls,
And
that's only the beginning. Because at the
No
bottom
problem.
of that tunnel, there's something else waiting. You come out of the narrow chimney and suddenly a huge underground chamber opens up in front of you. Divers call it the ballroom.
By the way, this whole, I think it's funny. The guy is like, one wrong move and your gear will scrape. Like, so?
I mean, that's like you could say that about so many. I mean, that's like the ear at Jenny Springs.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would say that, yeah, the ear at Jenny Springs is a
You're gonna
perfect
scrape.
example. It's like you're going down and it's like clink, 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 clink.
I mean, there's no way not to. You got flow blowing you all over.
If you care about your dive equipment looking pristine, perfect, brand new, don't be a cave diver. I mean, you would destroy all your gear in dive 1. I mean, you just don't care. Like, for me, it just doesn't matter. Like, I don't own anything diving that I'm like, oh, this poor, like, it's just will scratch. Like, whatever. It's part of these gnarly dives that you're doing. Like, you earn it, you know? So, yeah, you go down through the chimney, some of your tanks will hit against the rocks. Who cares?
And again, the name is quite accurate. Many compare the size of the space to an aircraft hangar. It's an enormous
Huge.
water-filled cavern. So vast that your flashlight beam just vanishes into the darkness.
It does.
And
That's
the
true.
part that really
Totally.
made me wonder from a geological point of view, how does something like this even form? The whole place is made of limestone, the same rock that makes up much of Florida's underground geology. Long ago, water moved slowly through these rocks. Drop by drop, it dissolved the limestone, widened the cracks, and slowly opened them up more and more.
Isn't it?
Hundreds of years passed, then thousands. And eventually, those fractures turned into giant underground chambers, like the one inside Eagle's Nest. The walls are uneven, with hollows, ledges, and folds of stone, all carved away by water over thousands of years. The rock looks almost as if it had been slowly melted and then suddenly frozen in place. It's beautiful, almost mesmerizing even. And that still
It is
isn't
beautiful.
all. And about 130 feet down, there's a large mound of broken rock, basically a cone-shaped pile of rubble.
Yep.
And from that point, the cave system continues deeper into the limestone. The passages branch off in different directions and gradually descend farther down.
Yep.
Some lead to larger chambers, others open into entirely new rooms. And you know what? The entire cave system stretches for almost 1.25 miles, and its maximum depth goes beyond 295 feet. At the same
320.
time, every turn inside Eagle's Nest is a potential trap. Narrow tunnels, complex layout, total darkness. But divers are people who train for conditions like this. So why did Eagle's Nest become such a legend in stories about diving fatalities and underwater caves?
It's
During
deep and
Christmas
dark
of
in a cave.
2013, Darren
Yeah.
and
We
his
were just talking about
15-year-old son Dylan arrived at Eagle's Nest to go diving.
So
On
dumb.
the shore, everything looked perfectly ordinary. The tanks were checked, regulators were connected, on their wrists were dive computers tracking depth and time underwater. They had everything needed for a calm descent and a safe return. But the dive ended in tragedy. Dylan's body was found first. He was lying almost at the exit, at a depth of about 65 feet, as if he'd been trying to make it back and couldn't. Darren's body was discovered deeper at around 128 feet. Both of them had run out of air. And that raises the obvious question, if their preparation seemed normal, what could possibly have gone wrong? Investigators and rescue teams later considered several possible scenarios. One of them may have lost the route inside the tunnels. In underwater caves, that can happen faster than you might think. They might have gone deeper than planned.
Yep.
Or perhaps something happened to Dylan himself. And here it's important to understand one thing. For a 15-year-old, dark
Nice trim.
underwater caves create an entirely different level
That's
of
Jonathan
psychological pressure. There's no open water. A ceiling hangs above your head. Walls surround you. The only way up is the same narrow tunnel you used to enter. And if someone gets disoriented even for a moment, the situation can spiral very quickly.
This is
But that
true.
leads to another question. If only adults, experienced and psychologically stable divers entered this cave, would it make the place safer? Unfortunately, no.
Well, we're not psychologically stable.
True.
We've entered it multiple times, and we're still here. I'm just giving an example.
And you
of
think you're
when
Brazilian. I mean, the evidence is
Not
just out
fit-
there.
The evidence is out there that I'm Brazilian.
No.
Now,
The
wait till you see my new thing.
I wanted to interject here for a second. So, one of the things that the state of Florida has done, I don't know if this is a state thing or if it's just the NSSCDS, the cave diving, wing of the National Speleological Society, but they recommend, I don't know if they enforce it because nobody enforces this, nobody checks anything. They recommend that not only you should be a full certified cave diver, because there's multiple levels of cave diving certifications. You have intro, then you have intro to tech, or tech light, I think it's called, and then there's full. But anyway, you have to be full cave certified, but you also should be an Abe Davis Award recipient or equivalent. Abe Davis is an award that cave divers can get after they complete 100 cave dives. And two, that you are full trimix certified, meaning certified to the deepest depth you can get certified, which is 330 feet or 100 meters. So you have to have all of that, ton of experience, full certification to the deepest levels before you should attempt Eagle's Nest. That's the recommendation. Here's the funny part. Nobody enforces this. Anyone can show up at Eagle's Nest and dive. The funny thing about it is the park, the Chahazowitska or whatever park where this is located, there's a park ranger there, a Florida park ranger. And I was just talking to someone who I certified on the go, and one of the dives that we did was at Beaufort, which is in the same park as Eagle's Nest. It's a cavern, it's not a cave. And unless you go super deep, and we didn't, we stay within the limits of training. But he has been there multiple times after that. He loved it so much, he lives in Florida, that he has gone multiple times to dive Beaufort after I took him there. And he said, last time I was there, you have to sign like paperwork at the entrance of the park and put in like $2 or whatever it is, the park entrance, or $5, whatever it is. And he said that the park ranger came out and asked him, he's like, where are you diving? And he said, I'm going to Beaufort. And the guy says, have you done Eagle's Nest? And, my student was like, no, we're not even cave certified. No. And the guy's like, you should give it a shot. It's so much bigger and better. You should definitely. The park ranger
Insane.
is telling uncertified people, no, dude, Beaufort, that's such a long walk
That's
on that
crazy.
cavern. You should go to Eagle's Nest. So
Wow.
much easier. What?
That's really not good.
It's bad. Of course. It's terrible.
Because it's not good, because that's an authority, and a naive diver would be like, oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Where is it? I'm going to go there.
Yeah, let me just.
Right? I mean, I'm imagining myself. I'd be
GPS
like, way better. Let's walk. That's all I'm hearing.
Yeah.
You have me at let's walk. Because you walk Buford one time
Yeah.
after being attacked by every gnat known to man in your ears, in your nose, right? You know how it is there.
Yeah.
Sweating, soaking wet in your dry suit.
Yeah.
you're going to go to Eagle's Nest, but don't. We're here to tell you don't. Just don't. There's nothing like, by the way, I would have to say, I think Buford is prettier.
Buford is nice.
I think Buford,
I love it.
when you're at 100 feet in those ledges, looking up with the way the light rays shine down, you don't get that at Eagle's Nest because of the lava tube. You don't get that beauty.
Yeah.
So, prettier? I'd go with Buford.
Yeah. I agree. And overall, like the experience that you should have to attempt a dive at Eagle's Nest, we already established is higher than just being full cave certified. So the fact that a park ranger is telling people you should go to Eagle's Nest instead, a fully uncertified, I mean, he's a rebreather diver, but he's not a cave diver.
Unless you want to be on Dive Talk, which you won't be able to respond. I mean, you won't be able to react to our reaction.
And my student, who's, he's not a student anymore, he's certified on the go, but he was with a buddy, and the buddy was like, why don't we just listen to this guy? He's saying Eagle's Nest is better.
Right.
Why are we going to do that long walk? And, my student was like, no. Like, we're not certified.
Good.
We need to go to Buford. And they ended up going to Buford instead. But, yeah, that was scary that, like you said, a person of authority is like, you should do Eagle's Nest.
Eagle's Nest doesn't care how old you are. It claims both the young and the experienced.
This is true. This is Eagle's Nest.
December 1981, Terry Collins and her husband Larry arrive at Eagle's Nest. One important thing to consider, they were not beginner divers. The dive started smoothly. They passed through the same narrow vertical shaft. They descend deeper. But at around 262 feet, everything begins to fall apart. Terry suddenly stops responding to her husband's signals. Larry gestures, trying to get her attention. No response. Within seconds, it becomes clear. She's lost consciousness. Larry tries to save his wife. He begins ascending, reaches the surface, and asks an experienced instructor for help. It might seem like this is where the story should take a different turn. But once again, the incident ended in tragedy. How could something like this happen to experienced divers? To understand that, you have to look at the environment. Eagle's Nest plunges deep underground for dozens of feet. At those depths, it's practically a different world. The pressure's far higher than what we experience at the surface. The usual rules of breathing begin to work differently. The human body suddenly faces physics it was never meant to handle. At such depths, divers typically use special breathing gas mixtures, but Terry was breathing ordinary compressed air. And that's where the real problem begins. The deeper you descend, the denser the air in the tank becomes. Breathing it gets harder. But the bigger issue is nitrogen. It makes up most of the air, and under pressure, it begins affecting the nervous system.
Yes.
Divers call this condition nitrogen narcosis. In simple terms, the brain starts behaving as if the diver were drunk. Thinking becomes harder. Reactions slow down. Coordination declines.
In other words, everybody at that depth starts acting like I am here on the surface every day.
Right.
Seriously, it's such a bad feeling because, when I get it, I've actually gotten it before, and I was with Mike Young, and we were going down to a wreck. I was in the Great Lakes, and I don't know, the whole wreck was spinning. Gus, it was literally dizzy. I'm like, whoa. This was at like 135. And I know I was on air, and I was like, well, I'm not, okay, it's right at the edge. I just went up. I was like, whoa, I'm just dizzy. It affects you differently every time, but you can't really control it. You can't I don't think you can get used to it, but some people say you can. And at that point, somebody like her at 260 or 265 on air, there's so many potential problems. We have narcosis, but what about just getting CNS oxygen toxicity? At 265 feet, at 20.9% oxygen, you could convulse at any minute. I wonder if that's what really happened to her, and he's just not explaining it right.
Yeah, the maximum operating depth of air is 218 feet.
So, wow.
So she was past that. So the narcosis is one thing, and what Woody's talking about, nitrogen narcosis, is it affects people differently. And you cannot predict. This is not one of those where it's like, if it's cold, you get cold, and this is what cold does to your body. That every human, that's, unless you're Wim Hof, every human, goes through that. Nitrogen narcosis is not like that. It's like being drunk in the sense that when people become drunk, they react differently. Some people laugh about everything. Some people just collapse and fall asleep. Some people get, violent and want to fight everybody. So it's like you can't tell what people will do when they're drunk until you're drunk.
And at 270 feet, let's say she touched 270 feet.
Yeah.
They already said she was on air. This was her PO2.
What?
1.9.
Nuts.
We say don't really exceed 1.4. 1.6 is the absolute outer limit that they say.
Yeah.
Now, I know, guaranteed, 100% we're going to get comments, oh, I dive at 2.0
Yeah.
all of the time. The
course.
problem with saying that
Superhuman.
is that, well, you may not have convulsed that time
Right.
at 2.0. When is the next increment of what it would have triggered? Because it's not gradual. You're not like, I think I feel a convulsion coming on. It's like, I'm fine or I'm convulsing.
Yeah.
So I always have said this. When are you gonna go a little more and wait till you're convulsing? Because if that's the case, then you're dead.
Yeah. And what Woody's talking about with the 1.9 and that being the PO2, we have kind of talked about this a little bit, and we go into a lot more details when you take like a nitrox class, for example, or something. But humans have a range of oxygen, partial pressure of oxygen you can breathe. Here on the surface, as you're breathing air, the partial pressure of oxygen we're breathing is 0.21. That's 21% oxygen. Our range that we talk about for regular, just a normal average person, is from 0.16, so we're at 0.21, 21%, to 1.6. That's the range. So 0.16 to 1.6, that's the range. Anything below 0.16, you pass out and you can die. You lose consciousness. If you lose consciousness underwater, you drown. Anything over 1.6, you can have a seizure. Underwater, you drown. So you either lose consciousness due to too low, hypoxia due to too low, or get a seizure,
hyperoxia,
due to too high. So 1.9, you're above the 1.6 range, and that's why you can lose consciousness and drown.
And guess what?
Yeah.
It's absolutely able to be mitigated with no problem.
Just have the
All
right
you
gas.
have to do is have the right training and the right gas. And you know what? You feel so much better. You're not narked. You have no risk of oxygen toxicity. What's the big deal?
By the way, side conversation. Recently, in the trip to Europe a couple months ago when we went to Butch Show, I discovered wine. I never drank wine before. And then I go to Europe and people are like encouraging me like, oh, you just have a glass of wine. Dude, I've been missing out.
No, you've transformed a lot. You've really changed and grown a lot. I mean, you're full-blown gangsta.
That's not okay. But I'm just saying I've been missing out. For all those of you who like wine, hey, good job.
So you drink alcohol now and you're getting both
I have
arms
like a
beat up.
glass of wine and it hits me. Like when I played rugby, I used to play rugby. I could drink like a bazillion beers and feel almost nothing. But now I drink like a glass of wine and I can feel it.
Are you in pain?
It's like, okay.
Something like this most likely happened to Terry. After that, she lost her regulator, the device delivering air to her mouth. At that depth, losing it can turn into a life-threatening emergency almost instantly.
Why were we talking
what
about wine?
The instructor? Why couldn't he
liked
help?
it.
What are we
As
doing?
soon as he heard
all
what
over the
happened,
place.
he descended, going deeper than 230 feet
like
to
to have
try
a
and
glass.
rescue her. But another very human factor came into play. Sometimes even experienced people,
Look at that.
when trying
Looks
to save
awesome.
someone, act too quickly. Emotions override careful planning.
That's true.
The instructor had only a single air tank. For rescue dives at such
Bruh.
depths, that's usually not enough. And here, there simply wasn't time for full preparation. In the end, even a diver with that much experience could not make it back to the surface. But hold on, don't people need some kind of special certification to dive into caves this dangerous? They do. And more than that, many of the people who complete that training become true experts. But as you've probably already guessed, even certified divers can get hurt or never make it back at all.
True.
Because Eagle's Nest does not care whether you have a certificate or not.
You said that.
In 2004, 2 cave divers died in the Eagle's Nest cave system, John Robinson and Craig Simon. These were not amateurs. They had years of experience. They were trained in both technical diving and cave diving. They used underwater scooters to move more quickly through Eagle Nest's tunnels.
Not those.
They breathed special helium-based gas mixes to reduce the risk of nitrogen narcosis. But even all of that wasn't enough. The divers went extremely deep into the system. They pushed beyond the usual routes and entered narrow passageways where there's no natural light at all. In those tunnels, you can't navigate without a flashlight.
Beautiful.
Turn it off for even a second, and your entire world disappears. But for experienced cave divers, that was still considered a manageable situation. They had powerful lights, guideline reels, and solid training. It seemed like everything was under control, but the real danger came from the cave itself. Silt rose up from the bottom. In cave diving, that's one of the worst things that can happen. One careless move with the scooter and visibility drops to absolute zero.
Okay. Visibility being 0 is not great, but we trained for that. Now, let me ask you this, because this is interesting. What do you think is the worst thing that can happen during a cave dive? Let's say you and I are cave diving. What's the worst thing you think that you would be like, out of all the things that could have happened, this is the worst?
I would say for us, because we're on rebreathers, is both rebreathers flooded or both rebreathers had a CO2 breakthrough and we didn't bring enough backup gas to get out. To me, that's the worst thing that could happen. You're dead.
Okay, but we both can also have heart attacks. I'm just saying, like, in the real world, like, we're out there, just a regular, I'm just talking to, like, we're at Ginny Springs, whatever, we're deep, we're, like, Sweet Surprise, like, back there, 2,000 feet out of, from the entrance. What's the worst thing that can happen, you think, to you? Like, you're doing the dive, something happens to you. What would you say this is the worst thing?
For me,
Yeah.
the worst thing that could happen is,
We may have a different opinion on this. This is not rehearsed. We're literally talking about
I
diving.
mean, as long as I'm with you, and we stay together, and I don't lose my buddy, even if I've run out of air and my rebreather breaks, that's what we plan for.
Okay, but let's just, don't say as long as whatever. Let's just say this is a dive. Anything can happen. What do you think is the worst?
Rebreather breaks and I run out of air. And I'm by myself. That's
Right.
the worst thing that can happen. I can't think of anything worse than that.
But I feel like even in that case, and I'm not arguing. I'm just saying, I feel like even in that case, we have been on dive where our rebreather broke, like
Absolutely.
catastrophic failures, and we made it out. Because we were with each other. I think it was reassuring to be with each other, but because we bring enough gas to bail out.
Exactly.
So we were prepared. So a catastrophic rebreather failure is not as scary.
And run out of air.
And run out of air. That's the problem. But to me, so my answer would be losing the line. Like, that to me is the scariest part, because yeah, we train to find the line back. It's one of the exercises you have to do. You have to pass in order to get your cave diving certification. You have to learn how to find the line after you lose it. But that to me is the scariest, because it's the uncertainty. Because I feel like as long as I'm in the line and the guideline, even if my rebreather implodes, if I stuck to the plan, which is let's not penetrate more than whatever thousands of feet, I have enough gas to make it out. But if you lose the guideline, now you have to find it. Now, obviously, even though it's the scariest part, having a rebreather really helps, because now you have hours to find the guideline, and chances are you're going to find it. But the times where I've missed the line for whatever reason or another, that I'm like, oh, where's the line? Oh, there it is. Those have been the trickiest ones for me.
It's nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Even when you lose it in a silt out for just a second, it's not a great feeling.
I didn't feel like that when my rebreather broke. I was just like, oh, I need to bail out. Hey, we're getting up. And obviously in cave diving and in tech diving, thumb up is no questions asked. We're out.
I never felt that either when the rebreather failed, just because I've got literally a necklace regulator hanging right here. I mean, it's as simple as close and put the regulator in your mouth.
You're done.
But if I would have
Yeah.
had the rebreather fail, and I would not have had air in my tanks, it's over in a silt out, probably,
Hard step.
if I cannot find my buddy very quickly. You're panicking, so your ability to breath hold is going to decrease even past what your normal ability to hold your breath is, because you got no air. Maybe you would think, maybe you would think, wait, I have a BC, maybe I could take another. Maybe you would think about that, and that's a big maybe.
Yeah.
But man, you have no air and no rebreather. I feel like panic is going to set in within 3 seconds. You are You are out.
We do plan for some of these, like 1 in a million, chances of things going this bad. Obviously, we don't plan for the ones where there's no escaping. Like your rebreather's broken, you're both out of air, and you're 3,000 feet into the cave, and you lost the line. Okay, then I'm dead. Like there are some situations where you just have to accept that I'm gonna die. And there's people in comments always ask, like, what if you missed the line and your rebreather failed and you also this and you also then you die?
Yeah.
What if the cave collapses and buries you alive? Then I'm dead. Like I fully accept the fact that I could die cave diving, but for all the other things, like even in training, we always plan for the absolute worst. Like your rebreather broke at the worst possible time, which is the deepest point, the furthest time, like the worst possible time, not 5 minutes into the dive, not 10 feet into the dive. No. Is the deepest, worst possible time. That's when your instructor comes to you and says, your rebreather broke. Like the worst possible time. So we train for it. We train for the worst. What are the chances that your rebreather will break at the worst possible time?
Low. Very low.
Bro, very low.
I mean, very low.
But that's what we train
That's why
for.
we do all the tests of building the rebreather properly and all of those checklists that we use at the beginning before we ever enter the water. I'm not saying it's impossible, but the way these rebreathers that we're diving, I can't speak to others, they're pretty reliable.
And I feel like you and I have been, when it comes to this stuff, have been on the same page for let's train for the worst case scenario. Like one good example of this was, I remember the first cave DPV class that we did.
Yep.
And one of the exercises that you do on a scooter is your scooter brakes. And for the first time, I feel like our instructor asked us, where in the cave do you want your scooters to brake? They gave us the choice. And you and I have this rule, and in this particular cave, that with the bailout gas that we bring, without staging more gas, we're only going to penetrate 2,000 feet. If we're going to go beyond 2,000, we're going to stage other tanks.
Yes.
So when the question came, you and I looked at each other, and we could have said 1,000 feet. Like, what are the chances?
I remember perfectly saying furthest back.
What are the chances that our DPVs, our scooters, will break at the worst possible point? Almost zero. But I remember we looked at each other and we said 2,000.
Well,
the worst possible place.
Because let's prepare.
Yeah, why not?
Let's see if we can do it. I mean, we're here in training.
Yeah.
And maybe we can't. And maybe we need more training.
Yeah. What's the deepest you guys will go with this configuration into the cave? 2,000 feet. Where do you want your DPVs to break? 2,000 feet. The worst possible place. And that's how we did. And we came out and it was great.
Yeah.
And I think when we did the exercise, I know I did it. I think you did it as well. I also bailed out. So what happens if my DPV broke and my rebreather broke? And I had to bail out. And I think I even doubled down and said, I'm just going to breathe one tank down. Instead of taking turns because it was side mount, I'm just going to breathe one down all the way to zero because I want to see how it feels to be off balance, bailed out with a broken scooter.
Yeah.
So you make it so it's the worst, very unlikely, worst possible scenario.
Yeah. And I'm not saying it's a blast because you get to the point, you hit the wall, you got to go straight up, right? All of a sudden you got to stop the DPV, the guy in back you still being towed, you're climbing, getting the DPV and flow, and it's hard. I mean, this is not easy, but
that's what it is.
You're
supposed to train for that.
Train for it. And frankly, I feel like I need more. I need to repractice those skills now. I haven't been in a while. I think it'd be great for you and I to go and do it again.
There's a bunch of little exercises like this that you can do at any level of diving. Like even if you're a brand new open water diver, and I've actually contemplated starting a series on Dive Talk Plus where just within a minute or two, we talk about one exercise you could do as an open water diver. Practice this thing on your next dive and just prepare for the worst. If you can practice and nail an emergency when it's at your possible worst, then whenever it happens, if it's anything better than your worst, you're going to be super like, I know I can do this at the worst possible place. So I can do it at this place too when it actually happens to you. So let's keep going.
One of the divers lost his bearings and swam deeper into the system when he actually needed to head for the exit. The other was trying to find his way back along the guideline, but at some point became entangled in it. And that was when the situation turned truly critical. In a cave, you can't simply swim upward to the surface. The only way out is the same way you came in. Once they ran out of breathing gas, it became clear that there was no escape. Rescuers later found Robinson's body in a narrow passage about 260 to 295 feet from the entrance. Simon's body was discovered a little farther in, hanging from the very line he'd been using to try and find his way out. And that got me thinking, maybe what's needed is even more advanced training. Maybe you could memorize every route, plan every move in detail. You get the idea. Maybe that sounds good in theory, but even making several dives into Eagle's Nest is no guarantee that you'll survive. October 5th, 2016. 2 more divers set out to explore Eagle's Nest. This wasn't their first time entering the system. They had real experience and already had made multiple dives in this exact deadly place. Before the dive, they made a simple agreement with the people waiting on the surface. They would meet back up in an hour, a standard arrangement for this kind of expedition, but an hour passed and they never returned. That was when it became clear that something had gone wrong. The search began almost immediately, but because of the cave system's depth and maze-like tunnels, they couldn't be found that same day. Only later were their bodies discovered at a depth of about 262 feet. And again, the exact cause of the tragedy remains unknown. Official sources say it may have been the loss of the guideline, poor visibility, navigation errors, or technical problems with their equipment. In a maze of underwater tunnels, any one of those can be fatal, and no amount of experience can fully protect you from that. So maybe the real question is whether this place should be closed for good. Why didn't the authorities do anything while people kept dying? The thing is, they did try. The measures just weren't very strict. In the late 1990s, officials finally stepped in. The situation had become impossible to ignore. Too many accidents, too many stories ending the exact same way. So they made a simple decision. From 1999 to 2003, diving in Eagle's Nest was officially banned. But it didn't take long for the cave diving community to push back against a total closure, and their argument sounded convincing. The problem wasn't the cave itself, the problem was the people were going in without proper training. And what do you know? In the end, the authorities accepted that reasoning and lifted the ban. So yes, it really was that simple. Officials took the divers at their word and reopened the site. But there was one catch. Some restrictions technically remained, though in practice they were mostly symbolic. At the cave entrance, they installed a sign that eventually became almost legendary. It reads, "Stop. Prevent your death.
Every cave
Go
in
no
Florida.
farther." Next to it's another chilling line, "There is nothing in this cave worth dying for." The idea was that warnings like these would scare off unprepared divers. On top of that, officials stated that only certified cave divers were supposed to enter, but there was no checkpoint at the entrance.
Yeah.
No one stood by
No
the
one
water
cares.
inspecting certifications. In other words, the rule existed, but enforcing it was left entirely up to the divers themselves. And
Yeah.
that's still the case today. Anyone who wants to go in can do so, whether they are confident, reckless, or simply eager to test their limits. And everyone's limits are different. Sometimes the body simply cannot handle it. In January 2017, 55-year-old diver Charles Odom entered Eagle's Nest with his dive partners. At first, everything went smoothly. They moved through the system, completed what they'd planned, and began their ascent. It seemed like the hardest part was already behind them. All that remained was decompression and returning to the surface. But that was exactly when everything changed. As they approached a decompression stop, Charles signaled to his partners that something was wrong. Within seconds, he began losing control of his body. But if his partners were right there, why couldn't they save him? The truth is, they tried. The divers kept his regulator in his mouth so he could continue breathing and started bringing him up slowly, but they ran into another problem. They were still in the middle of decompression. If they'd rushed to the surface too quickly, it could have killed them too. By the time they finally reached the surface, it was already too late. The 55-year-old diver had died. At first, it seemed obvious, decompression problems. That can happen in deep diving, but then another question comes up. What did his health have to do with it? When Charles's body was examined, an important detail came to light. He had serious health issues that not many people knew about. Later, doctors concluded that the combination of those conditions and the intense stress of decompression was the very trigger that led to the tragedy. But what if someone's health problems are not that severe? Could that at least be some small guarantee that Eagle's Nest won't take their life? Not at all. And another case from 2011 proved exactly that. That year, experienced cave diver Bill Bowden completed his dive successfully. He made it through the narrow passageways, carried out the plan, began his ascent, and surfaced safely. Everything looked perfect. It seemed like the story had ended well. But sometime after getting out of the water, he began showing symptoms of decompression sickness. This is a condition in which gases dissolved in the blood begin forming bubbles. Those bubbles can block blood vessels and disrupt circulation and organ function. For divers, it's one of the worst possible scenarios. Bowden was rushed to the hospital and placed in a hyperbaric chamber. There, doctors try to restore pressure in the body and force those gas bubbles to dissolve back into the blood. Sometimes that can save a person's life. But in this case...
Just because I was standing in front of you completely unconscious, I was just resting.
Yeah.
I was taking a nap.
In peace.
I ate my steak, barfed it up, then I remember walking 10 feet, and I just took a pause, a little break.
So dives like Eagle's Nest, I just wanted to add this as well, and deep dives like this, I really love Eagle's Nest. It's like a really cool place, but the reason why I tend to stay away from like every invite, I guess, to go dive it is the decompression, because decompression gets very tedious. I know that if you do a deep dive in the ocean and there's a giant coral wall or something, then you can decompress swimming. Like we just did this last year in Roatan. We did that super deep wreck, like 250 feet or whatever. And then we did our decompression on the wall, and it was a dive. But at Eagle's Nest, you're just there in cold water, staring at a wall. There's nothing. And the challenge is, depending on how deep you go, you can find yourself where for every minute you spend at depth, you're accruing 7 minutes of decompression. So imagine just spending 5 minutes down there, just 5 minutes looking around. Now you have to sit and stare at a wall in cold water for 35 minutes. So that is why it's challenging. And in some cases, in order to get to those depths and to get out of those depths, you have to spend a lot of time at that depth. So like, let's say you are going to whatever room at Eagle's Nest that is at 300 feet deep. You go there, and then it takes you whatever long to get there, 20 minutes or whatever, and then you swim back for 20. So you just spend 30 minutes at depth and multiply that by 5 or 7. Now you're down there for like 2 hours just staring at a wall. It's like, bro, was that worth it? And I was talking to Henry about this because Senior Scuba is him on YouTube. He's doing this dives to like 500 and something feet, like almost 200 meters deep. And I'm like, is it worth it? Like, okay, you went to 200 meters. That's cool. But spending 6 hours of decompression staring at a wall?
You could have been at Sonny's having all the you-could-eat barbecue chicken.
Right? Or that what's it called? The Brass Ring Pub in West Palm Beach?
That burger?
Dude, that place is awesome.
And you really do bring up a great point. Like, when is it worth it? I mean... But for some people, like Henry, it is worth it. It's cool. He enjoys the experience of the technical, figuring it out, balancing the dual rebreathers, what's working, how can I make it better.
It's an achievement.
It's not just the dive for him. He does enjoy the technical aspects.
Yeah.
I would rather be at 100 feet looking at pretty fish with my iPhone,
killing lionfish,
my dive Volk, or killing lionfish on my go that I clipped on. I don't really get off on the technical, look at how much gear I can handle. I get it. I understand that some people love that. Yeah. It's not that enjoyable.
I think it's cool once in a while, but like it's not super attractive to me. It's like... It's cool. I love doing that, once in a while, like once every year, once every 2 years or whatever. You do like a super deep dive, but it's not something that I crave. I don't crave to sit around for 3 hours in decompression.
That's a lot.
That's a problem. And what these guys just went through is one of those worst case scenarios in diving. And there are several. One of those includes, what if you are running out of air? And like your body's running out of air and you are also running out of air. And now if you share air, you both die. So like those situations, that moral decision making, and it's easy for us to sit here in a comfy chair and be like, oh, if it was me, I would tell my body like F off and like leave and survive. Like, yeah, you can put yourself in whatever situation and pretend you know what you're going to do. This is one of those where you have a dive buddy who's struggling, passed out, whatever, and you're looking at your computer and you have 2 hours of decompression to go. Literally a fake ceiling holding you from going up. Why are you wearing sunglasses in here, by the way? I just noticed. What's going on? Why are you Casey Neistat?
I'm not just Brazilian. I'm also a cowboy. I can ride horses, Brazilian horses, amazing. And when you're on a Brazilian horse, you want sunglasses. Why? For eye protection. I'm now Brazilian cowboy. You didn't see that with my sunglasses? That didn't dawn on you right away?
That makes perfect nonsense.
It's
Let's
obvious.
keep going.
His condition was too severe. He died. Later, another important detail emerged.
So
Bill
obvious.
Bowden had once undergone heart surgery that included a valve replacement. A doctor had officially cleared him to dive. Formally, there were no contraindications, but the extreme conditions inside Eagle's Nest placed too much strain on his body. And that's still not the most dangerous thing that can kill someone during a dive.
Oh, boy.
What's even worse is having no equipment at all. And believe it or not, that's something people actually do here.
Yeah,
This
they're
is
amazing.
called freediving,
And
a
they're
very
incredible.
strange and, at the same time, deeply impressive type of diving.
Very impressive.
A person goes underwater without scuba gear, without tanks, without any air supply. At most, they have a mask, sometimes fins,
Look at that.
and that's it. Before the dive, they take only one deep breath.
They're amazing.
And then they stay underwater the entire time on a single breath hold.
Yeah.
When you watch trained freedivers, it almost looks unreal. Some of them can stay underwater for several minutes
They're
and
mo-
descend to depths
Insane.
of well over
I do think they're the most impressive of all divers. Not the rebreather technical cave explorers. These free divers are unbelievable how they've trained their body
Yeah.
to be able to go to these depths. Mind over matter, their ability to lower their heart rate. I mean, it's incredible
They are
technique, and it's amazing to me.
the most impressive and at the same time the least desirable type of diving there is
You
for
don't
me.
you don't want to do it.
No.
I think it's amazing.
No, I want to go down there and stay there forever.
No, I get
like,
it. I understand. But I think
But I
it's
am
amazing.
jealous. Like at places like Beaufort, we were just talking about it. It's a quarter of a mile walk. Like it's you're walking out there for half a kilometer, and the heat, Florida,
Don't forget what's
infested.
going in your ears.
Yeah,
The gnats.
infested. And these free divers just have like a pair of fins
They look at us like, what? You're going to lug
and
all
wearing
that
like
out?
mandals. Like it's not a big deal, bro. Don't wear mandals.
And why are they always the single most gorgeous, both guys and girls you've ever seen are the free divers? And then there's us, scuba divers. Look at the, seriously.
On the other end of the spectrum, yeah.
Look at the, come on, look at them.
yeah,
What is it? You got to be good looking to be in the free diving community.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
they'll
I'd
kick you
probably
out.
get in. You would have gotten in before that
No,
left arm got that
That's
stuff on it.
I don't.
Well, actually, no. Maybe
way.
now you could. I do see them ink up a lot.
No, I need at
Me and
least
Jack.
3 piercings. I think.
dozens of feet. But even with training, dives like this are still dangerous. The deeper a person goes,
Look
the
at that.
faster oxygen is used
Beautiful.
up, and loss of consciousness can happen without warning. So the question is, how could something like this happen at Eagle's Nest? In 2018, a group of young people came to Eagle's Nest. They were simply hanging out near the entrance to the cave and doing breath hold dives. The routine was simple: a quick breath, a fast descent down the shaft, and then back up to the surface. They repeated these short dives again and again. But at some point, one of the young men decided to go deeper. He took a breath, disappeared underwater, and began descending into the darkness of the cave. He never came back up.
Bye.
Sometime later, his body was found at a depth of about 148 feet. So what might have happened this time? Most likely it was something known as hypoxic blackout, a sudden loss of consciousness caused by a lack of oxygen.
That
During
sucks.
freediving, a person holds their breath, and as they descend, the increasing water pressure compresses the air in their lungs. This can create the deceptive feeling that everything is fine, as if there's still plenty of oxygen left. But the real danger begins on the way back up. As the diver ascends, the water pressure drops quickly, and the oxygen level in the blood can collapse in a matter of seconds. At that moment, the brain simply shuts down. The person
PO2
loses
is-
consciousness, sometimes without even realizing anything is wrong. But at least in this case, the body was eventually
Shallow
found.
water blackout.
Sometimes people simply vanish, and to this day, no one knows what happened to them. We moved to another part of Florida, to a spring called Vortex Spring. From
Okay.
above, it looks like an ordinary natural pool. Crystal clear water,
Cold.
fish drifting lazily near the surface. There are even swings nearby for tourists. But the moment you take a closer look, you realize there's something far more sinister under the surface. Beneath this seemingly harmless pool lies a flooded cave system. And
Yeah,
yes,
but there's a
people
gate.
have died here too. The cave was even sealed off. At about 60 feet down, a diver suddenly comes face to face with a familiar warning sign that basically says, "Prevent your death, go no farther."
Yep.
Although honestly, is that really much of a barrier? It was basically the same as at Eagle's Nest. Well, technically
And
there
almost
were
every
metal
cave in
gates
Florida.
too, just ordinary looking bars, a narrow opening, nothing especially dramatic. But in reality, that gate marked the boundary between two completely different worlds. On one side, the relatively safe spring area where tourists swim and beginner divers practice. On the other, a real underwater cave. So if it was all closed off, how were people still disappearing in there? That's where the story gets truly strange. Experienced, certified cave divers were still allowed in. They could be given a key to the gate, show your credentials, prove your level of training, and you're allowed to enter. But in August 2010, things took a very different turn. A man named Ben McDaniel walked
Yeah,
up to the
we just
gate.
talked about
He
this
didn't
guy.
show any certifications. He didn't explain anything. He just tried to open it. One of the spring employees was watching him from the side, and at some point he apparently decided, this guy's going in no matter what. If I don't open it, he'll force his way
So frustrating
through.
how
So
these
the
videos
employee
these
simply
days go between nothing related to what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And I do have a free diver. I mean, we've got AI at work here, but that's just what we have to deal with.
Yeah,
today.
he's talking about Ben McDaniel and Vortex. There's
And now I got a free
hundreds
diver
of
in the
hours
ocean.
worth of the videos about Vortex on YouTube that he could have used, and he's just like using like a free diver in the ocean. Like,
It's
bro,
crazy.
if you're gonna
He
do
took
that,
the
just show
key
something
and
else.
opened the gate. That was how Ben McDaniel entered the cave. And after that, no one ever saw him again. But when someone disappears, don't people at least try to recover the body? They do. And in this case, they tried very hard. Divers and police searched the cave for days and weeks.
You got a picture
they
of Jill.
followed the same tunnel system Ben was believed to have entered. They examined passages, pockets, and tight passageways. They found only a few of his tanks left near the entrance, and that alone was strange. Normally those tanks are placed along the route so a diver has extra air available on the way back out. But the most incredible part was this. They found no sign of Ben's body, no sign of his gear, and no trace that he had ever passed through the cave at all.
Very
Highly
strange.
experienced underwater search teams covered miles of flooded tunnels and narrow passages.
I don't know about
I don't want
miles.
to put words in Ed's mouth, but didn't Ed say he doesn't think he was ever there? Isn't that what we ultimately got Ed to say? We interviewed him on this.
What I'll say, we didn't interview him on this. What I'll say is the disappearance of Ben McDaniel has been not only maybe the most requested thing for us to talk about on this show since we started years ago, but also the biggest project that I've been dreaming about doing, but doing it properly. Because we know the people that not only search for Ben, but the people that know the behind the scenes history of Vortex,
Yeah.
which is bananas.
Yeah, crazy.
Like it could be a Netflix show. And nothing you read on Wikipedia or even watch videos on YouTube will tell you the story because it doesn't exist. No one has told it unless they told to us personally. And the people that have told us, and Ed being one of those, they said they would go on record and talk about this. And I've always wanted to make this my project and make a dive talk special about the disappearance of Ben McDaniels in Vortex Springs. It would require a big investment, like a big investment of time. Like we would have to go there for weeks to do it properly.
Yeah.
You have to go to Vortex. You have to interview each person. You have thousands of dollars worth of edits and video editing and putting together and drone footage. Like,
And by the way,
this,
I don't want to end up missing either.
this would have
Just
to
saying,
be.
you understand what I'm talking about. We don't want to go too far. We may end up not ever diving Vortex, but yet missing.
This would have to be a huge undertaking to do it properly. This is why we haven't talked about Ben McDaniel, no matter how many times people have requested, is because I think this story should be done properly. And if I could pick a project to work on, this would be it. If I had unlimited money, I would tell that story because it's insane.
It is.
Checking every pocket they could find, and still came up with nothing. Could the same thing happen at Eagle's Nest? Unlike Vortex Spring, Eagle's Nest is open access. There are no gates, no checkpoint. A person can simply show up, gear up, and dive.
Correct.
And no one may even notice. And if something goes wrong, there's a real chance nobody will ever know that dive even happened. Maybe that's happened more than once. But honestly, the most important thing here is not even the number of victims. What matters more is understanding why this keeps happening. There is no curse. It's just an extremely complex, unforgiving cave system where even a small mistake can cost you everything. And nearly every tragedy there has one thing in common: human overconfidence and a chain of mistakes that starts with one small but dangerous thought: I'll be fine.
That was it. I mean, we were on point for about 5% of it, and then we talked about wine and sunglasses and Brazilian cowboys.
Which I am.
Which, by the way, I didn't know the Brazilians are like the best in rodeo, like here in the
Amazing.
U.S.
No, every like little street carnival, which they have everywhere, by the way. I don't know what it is about having little carnivals at every block in Brazil. But
Yeah.
they love them. There's always the fake
Bull, or
ride
whatever?
bull, whatever,
Yeah.
and toro, and which I'm Portuguese, so I can speak this way, and I rode it.
Wow.
I rode it.
You
And
rode the mechanical bull?
So they have like the 7-year-olds that get on it, and
Yeah.
I think they're just born to know how to bull ride in
Yeah.
Brazil. The kid's flying around, moving his body, whatever. Then I get on it. I look at the guy. I'm like,
Crank
nah.
it up.
I'm like, dude, don't hold back.
Crank it up.
He hits the button.
Dead.
I'm off in a world's record, new record in Brazil. I've never seen a 61-year-old get flung off. And by the way, when they get flung off and land, it's graceful. Even their fall is beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Mine's like I'm crippled and I cannot stand up off
You
this
look
mat
like
right
the-
now. And I almost got trapped in
You
the
did the
mechanical,
scorpion.
even the mechanical part underneath that's holding the pole or whatever. My whole arm and leg almost got crunched in that. The guy's like,
Why would you do that?
dude, I've been running this thing in this
I've never seen
this
that.
rinky-dink carnival for 38 years. I've never seen a guy fall like you. Thank you.
Why are we talking about rodeo here? How did we get here? I don't know, but
Nobody, only Terry now has heard this last part.
what I
And the
will
fact that
say,
your left arm has new stuff coming
what
up.
I will say is, out of all the incidents that he talked about on the video, there is one thing, one of our videos about Eagle's Nest that they didn't talk about, which was, unbelievably enough, somebody went in there completely with no training, single tank, and they started swimming around in the ballroom of Eagle's Nest, and they recorded the whole thing. Like, zero training. They just went in there like, oh, let's just go to the Mount Everest of caves with a single tank and no trim or buoyancy whatsoever. What's the worst that can happen? Oh, and let's bring cameras. And we reacted to that video. I'm going to leave it right here. It's bananas. What are you doing? Pick a better place, like a swimming pool. Not Eagle's Nest.
Vamos Brazil.
That's what?